Before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctify thee. I set you apart. I ordain thee a prophet unto the nations. A prophet unto the nations is who you are. That's your truth, Jeremiah. And remember what I said. This is not just God speaking to Jeremiah. It is God speaking through Jeremiah to all of us. This is the blueprint for how God deals with us uniquely and personally. Before I was formed and framed, before I was fashioned, before I was a fetus, I was already finished in the mind of God. Before I was conceived, I was already completed in the mind of God. There was a predestined plan that predates me, that precedes me, that preempts me, that provokes my birth. A predestined plan. And when you fast forward, I told you we're tandemizing Jeremiah 1 and 5 to John 4 with the Samaritan woman. That means then she was sanctified before she was a Samaritan. And that her people, her heritage, her nationality, her race, her culture, her region, her influence, her history, her decisions, her lifestyle, her life's choices, who she was with, who she left, who she divorced, all of that together, none of those factors undermined or disannulled or dismissed what God had predestined for her life, what she was created for. This woman, the Samaritan woman, was a bridge. She is a bridge. People of God, bridge is her truth. That's her real identity. We said this on last week. We said, don't confuse my identification. I said, don't confuse my identification with my identity. This right here is my ID, but this is not my identity. I am greater than what I look like. This outward appearance is just the shell. This is just a shell. This is just an exterior. That's all this is. We get so caught up and make life's decisions based upon the appearance. What I look like is it's just a shell. My body is just a shell. I am greater. I'm much more than my physical appearance. You are greater than what you look like. You are greater than where you came from. You are greater than your history. Your identity does not rest in your identification. It rests deeper than that. It is deeper than that. It is inside your creative design, your creative purpose, what God determined and predestined you to be. That's your identity. Write that down. Bigger, greater than the decisions I made. I am greater than my history. I'm greater than my ancestry. I'm greater than my race. I'm greater than my culture. All of this is just a shell. I'm greater than my nationality. I'm greater than the continent I was born. I'm greater than where my people originated, because I didn't originate from any place in the earth. I originated from the mind of God. I originated from the thoughts of God. My origin is not a national origin. It is a supernatural origin. I am born again, born from above, yes. But I was originated from the mind of God, from the plans of God, from the ideas of God, from the concept of God, from the divine design of God. I'm greater than my race. I'm greater than my culture. I'm greater than my history. I'm greater than my genealogy. I'm greater than my ancestry. I'm greater than my decisions. I'm greater than my sins of the past. I am more than what I did. I am not where I came from. I'm not what I did. I'm greater than that. This is important. I'm greater than that. My true identity rests in who God has created me to be. And the job of the enemy is to rob me of that. He isn't just the thief, people of God. He is an identity thief. And he seeks to steal your identity, to rob you of your true identity. And how he does that? How does he do that? He does that through situations, because for every relationship you enter in, and every relationship you exit out of, every broken fellowship or broken relationship, unfortunately, we lose a piece of ourselves. We have to sacrifice so much to make things work. So we leave relationships having lost a piece of us. We also leave relationships having gained the weight of the baggage from a failed relationship. You can imagine what this woman had to deal with. 5 failed marriages. And for those of you who've experienced divorce, you understand how difficult it is. For those of you who've experienced broken relationships, you understand how difficult it could possibly be, how it is. Can imagine 5 times, 5 failed marriages. The Bible does not disclose exactly what happened. Look at St. John chapter 4. The Bible does not tell us exactly what happened. But we can only superimpose our experiences. We can only imagine letdown and failures and the feelings of failure over and over again repeated. 5 failed marriages. And whatever the circumstances that caused the marriages to collapse, she's had to deal with that. She has to deal with that. And so, again, through negative experiences, the enemy seeks to rob us. He seeks to rob us of our identity by the bitterness that comes out of our experiences, by the hurt, by the rejection, by all of these things that happen, but the feelings of betrayal, the abuse, the neglect. All of these things are like layers that are on top of. And so who we truly are is buried under what we've experienced. And then we wind up committing this one felony, and that is, if you're ignorant to your true identity, you will ignorantly assume another. And you wind up accepting a label of what's not really you. A label that is affixed based upon what society calls us rather than what God calls you. And we begin to accept, because of the feelings, because of the experience, what society calls us. We begin to accept it. And we lose our identity. Somewhere in her life, I am sure she's lost her identity. And remember what we said, since there is seed time and harvest, and we believe that God plants a seed in our creative design, then I believe that's the reason we said this. That's the reason why the word is the water, because he comes to water the seed. That's what the word is. The word is the water, and the water is the word, and the living word is the living water, and the living water is the living word. And the purpose of that water is to water the seed that is already placed in your creative design. There's a song that says, he saw the best in me when everyone else around could only see the worst in me. I want to tell you now, God did more than see the best in you. He seeded the best in you. Not only did he see the best in you, but he sowed the best in you. He planted the best in you. He didn't just see and observe the best in you, but he was the farmer who planted. As a farmer, he is the one who planted the best in you. He was the one in your creation, in your creative design, that sowed the seed of the best in you. The best in you, because this is what you need to know. This is what I was made for. Jeremiah, you are made for a prophet unto the nations, set apart. But notice what happened in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5. We discussed this. We never looked at Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 4. He says, then the word of the Lord came unto me saying. That's the water. Because even no matter what I'm created for, regardless of what is in my creative design, regardless of the seed that's inside me, except the water of the word comes the water of the seed, then I will never come into the knowledge of who I was created to be. I will never come into the knowledge of what I'm created to do. It'll be a powerful destiny that will never be realized, and it ultimately, upon my death, will be a destiny that's lost. Because regardless of your potential, regardless of your capabilities, regardless of your capacity, regardless of what you are created to do and become, despite the fact that you have been pre-wired for greatness, yes, the greatness is in you. The greatness, however, is in seed form, and you must have the word to water the seed, except God speaking to you and release revelation into you, and his word comes inside, not to just your ears, but inside to water the seed. You will never realize who you are truly created to be. You are one revealed truth away from realizing who you really are. You are one revealed truth away from unlocking the fullness of your potential. One revealed truth, one watered seed away from manifesting God's purpose and plan for your life. You are one watered seed away. And when Jesus goes to the woman of Samaria and comes to Samaria, he brings that water, the revelation that's in his mouth. He says the field, look at this. This is the field. They're white. They're ready to harvest. The reason why they're ready to harvest is because you never knew that, yes, they were Samaritans that you've avoided. But long before this moment, long before they became a people, God had already predestined them. They had been predestined because this is a word that had to be spoken. This woman was a critical piece to this. She's the fire starter. She is the critical piece. The Samaritan woman is the bridge that will link the truth, Christ, to the people. The fields are white, ready to harvest. But Jesus is, I know how I have to get to them. The only way to get to them is to get to her. She's a critical piece. She's a critical component. Married 5 times. Isn't that powerful? It's almost mind-boggling how we can reconcile the failures of our past to the promise of our future. Because what we did and where we were and what we decided seemed to be so far removed from what God sees and what God purposes for our lives. They are worlds that are so far apart. They seem to be polar opposites when you put them together and you juxtapose them. They seem to be polar opposite. You don't look like what you've been through, but you also don't look like what you're potential for. You are one revealed truth away from coming into the knowledge of who you really are. And once you regain your identity, how many understand that identity releases authority?